Hello there and welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, my name's Martin and this channel is my attempt at trying to share some of my experiences post-retirement. I am now finally underway. I set off in September along the Leicester arm of the Grand Union Canal, got stuck in Loughborough for a few weeks and then disappeared up the Loughborough arm onto the River Trent and then onto the Trent and Mersey Canal, where things calmed down quite a lot. I've documented all that in a video that hopefully tells some of that early story, but I'm now up to date and I'm now on the Ashby Canal. I had planned to continue down the Coventry Canal and then along the Oxford Canal, but the Oxford Canal is blocked at the moment with a landslip, so that's not possible. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to come up the Ashby Canal. I've got more time to vlog properly now, so I'll be documenting this journey, and I anticipate that being in sort of two parts. So if you'd like to come with me, please do, and I'll see you soon. few miles along the canal, you'll come to the town of Hinckley. Now it's worth remembering that this is the last place where you'll get any sort of choice of shopping. There are a few shops further along, particularly in Market Bosworth. It's also worth hopping into the Triumph factory just on the outskirts of town. There's a great museum there, the Triumph Experience. It's well worth a look round if you're even remotely interested, and it's free. And there's also a really good coffee shop attached to it. Stoke Golding's a really nice place to stop, and there are some really good moorings at the bottom of the hill. The top of this hill is thought to be where Henry Tudor was crowned Henry VII of England after the Battle of Bosworth, and, as the sign says, marked the start of the Tudor dynasty. If you stroll up the hill, there are a couple of really nice pubs. The Georgian Dragon and the Three Horseshoes. They've got mixed opening times, so it's worth checking online just to make sure when they open. Sometimes it's 12, sometimes it's later in the day. The Georgian Dragon does really nice lunchtime food, and the Three Horseshoes, although it doesn't do food, there's a really good Indian restaurant as part of the premises, and behind it is the Roast and Radish Cafe, which is great for a coffee in the afternoons. Services along the canal system are run by the Canal and River Trust, the CRT, and can sometimes be a bit of a mixed bag. More often than not, there's always a water point. Sometimes you'll find there's somewhere to dispose of your rubbish, although in this instance I had to take my rubbish back with me again. There are quite regular LSAM points where you can empty the loo, and if you're really lucky, you'll find one that has shower and toilet facilities as well. So then, what does a good mooring look like to me? Well, I'm looking for something that's got a fairly secure bank to moor up to in the first instance. I don't want the boat drifting off into the middle of the canal. I need to be able to get close enough to the bank to be able to get on and off safely. I'm also looking for a clear overhead perspective so that I can get decent solar if the sun's shining, or even if the sun's not shining. So I don't want to be under trees. In terms of things that are desirable, decent internet's very good so that I can continue doing YouTube. One of the things I do try and avoid is the tall vegetation that grows along parts of the canal. These are valuable wetland habitats, and in a few short weeks they'll be full of migrant nesting birds. And on the Ashby Canal in particular, the place is alive with water voles, so pushing into those sorts of places, those sorts of habitats with the boat could do quite a lot of damage. And let's face it, it causes unnecessary disturbance to the wildlife. If you're travelling along the Ashby Canal, you can't really not visit the Battle of Bosworth Heritage Centre. It's situated just a short walk from the village of Shenton, and there are decent moorings close by on the canal. The Battle of Bosworth Field marked the end of the War of the Roses between York and Lancaster. It saw the end of the Plantagenet era of English royalty and the birth of the Tudor era. The main protagonists on the day were Richard III, the last Plantagenet king, and Henry, Duke of Richmond, who later that day became Henry VII, the first Tudor king. It was originally thought that the battle took place just below where the Heritage Centre is now, but after a lot of recent research it's now known that the battle probably took place along Fen Lane further to the southwest on the 22nd of August 1485. The main protagonists were the House of Lancaster and the House of York. On the House of Lancaster side, that's Richard III, he was supported by the Duke of Norfolk, the Duke of Northumberland, the Earl of Surrey and the Earl of Lincoln. For the House of York, on Henry's side, was the Earl of Oxford and the Earl of Pembroke, Sir Gilbert Talbot and Sir John Savage. There were of course others, but they're the main protagonists. Lord Thomas Stanley seemed to take no part in the early proceedings of the battle, despite continued messages from both sides. His son was being held hostage by Richard to ensure that his father doesn't fight for Henry. As the battle develops, Duke of Norfolk's army, fighting for Richard, begins to struggle. Richard orders the Duke of Northumberland to bring his army forward in support. He does not move. As the two armies lock in a desperate struggle, Richard notices Henry leave his main army. Seeing an opportunity to bring the battle to a finish more quickly, Richard and his personal reserve army charge across the battlefield towards Henry. Richard got so close that he killed Henry's standard bearer. As the battle veers towards the marshy ground, Richard's horse trips and falls, getting stuck in the deep mud. Richard continues to fight on foot. He charges into the thick press of his enemies, vowing to live or die as the King of England. He is struck down and his body hacked to the ground. Richard III dies, ending his short reign and 331 years of Plantagenet rule in England, and he was the last English king to die in battle. Later, Richard III's crown was said to have been found in a thorn bush and was presented to Lord Thomas Stanley. Stanley then took the crown, and it's said that on top of the hill at Stoke Golding he crowned Henry Tudor, Henry VII of England. Of course, you probably all knew about that, but it's still worth a visit up to the top of the hill to have a look at the Heritage Centre. There is one other very good reason to go to the top of the hill, to the Heritage Centre, and that's the 1485 Tithe Barn restaurant. Fascinating place, and great cup of coffee and really nice sausage rolls as well. If you get to the Bosworth Heritage Centre via the canal, you'll probably have to walk through Shenton Station. The station is part of the Battlefield Heritage Railway, and although it was closed and out of season when I passed through, it's probably well worth a visit when it's up in steam sometime in the summer. Okay, well I think this is as good a place as any to end the first part of the Ashby Canal story. I hope you found it interesting. I certainly have. There's lots of good stuff to do along the Ashby. If you have enjoyed it and you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to know what happens in part 2 of the Ashby Canal story, then ding the notification bell. And if you have enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up. Okay, see you soon.